A sprint car driver tragically died on the track over the weekend. His name was Kevin Ward Jr., and there is a lot of controversy involving this story, especially because Tony Stewart, who is another race car driver, hit him, and there are questions as to what the intentions were at the time that this incident took place. Now, it all started when there was a little bit of either an accident or something happened on purpose. I'll give you what the report says. Kevin Ward Jr. had crashed following contact with Stewart one lap earlier and got out of his car as it was stopped along the fence. Now, we have video of what happened next. It is difficult to watch. TMZ Sports did obtain the video. Let's take a quick look at it.
Tony Stewart just hit that guy. Holy shit.
So there haven't been any criminal charges filed against Tony Stewart at the moment. Authorities are saying that there just simply isn't enough evidence for them to do so. However, they are questioning him and investigating him, and he is cooperating with the authorities.
So they haven't charged him yet, they said.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. All right. First of all, TMZ, as you can tell, has a new thing called TMZ Sports. They got the footage, and we want to thank them for that. And in this case, there's a couple of things that I think are obvious. One, he shouldn't have gotten out of the car, right? I mean, he's wearing all black. The outfit's black. The helmet's black. As you can tell, it's like a dirt track, right? It's mud track, which, by the way, is looser footing, right? Mm-hmm. So it's another bad idea. So why not to get out of the car, right? And so he comes out there. He's hard to see. The first car swerves to get out of his way as he's like jutting out into the middle of the path of the cars. At this point, the cars have slowed down a little bit, obviously, given the situation. Now, I don't think he should have gotten out of the car. I think a lot of people think that he's dead now. It's hard to criticize him for his actions. He was really, really mad. He's a young guy. He was really mad because Tony Stewart, it appears, clipped him, and that's why he spun out in the first place. That's the beginning of the video.
Yes.
So he's yelling at Tony Stewart there, right? First car is not Tony Stewart, swerves out of his way. Tony Stewart, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and that's the question here, does not swerve as much, right? Out of his way, at least.
Yeah, it appears like he swerves a little in his direction if you watch the video closely.
Yeah, the back of his car swings out a little bit. Again, we don't know if it's intentional or not. That's what they're going to look at. And God, as you look at the video, you think, don't go out there, don't go out there. That's crazy. And you see the back of the car swerve a little bit, and he got caught underneath the car, and then he flew up into the air and then landed there and died. And Tony Stewart has a history of being a hothead. And is that relevant in this context? Well, it is in terms of trying to figure out what his motivations are, right? So first of all right, let's go to a TYT Sports correspondent here. Jason Rubin's here. Jay, what's Tony Stewart's history in terms of this kind of stuff?
I mean, it's not going to play into his favor. He's very confrontational, and he's had prior incidents with throwing his helmet at other players, other racers' cars. And there's an interesting quote that was said after an incident with Matt Kenseth, another fellow NASCAR driver, after a similar tangle on the track that had Kenseth's car kind of spin out. Later, after the race, Stewart told ABC, "I learned my lesson there. I'm going to run him over every chance I've got from now to the end of the year. Every chance I've got." Obviously, that's not to be taken literally, but his tempers do flare. His history has a nickname, Smoke, which was given to him when he switched from dirt track to pavement into NASCAR racing. He would smoke up his tires because he's an aggressive driver, which is ironic because that's terrible for your tires, probably resulting in less traction when you're racing.
So he's very successful, I think, 3-time NASCAR champion in terms of racing, and his aggressive attitude has paid off in that sense. But this is not new to him. He causes accidents, at least with cars, fairly regularly. Just July of last year, in the same exact track, almost the same time, there was a 15-car accident that Stewart caused. and it left Alicia Ruggles, who's a 19-year-old driver, with a compression fracture in her back. So you think that he might have learned a lesson in the opposite direction, not to do that again, but as Jason just read it to you, he learned a lesson to run him over every time. So if I was the authorities, I'd look really, really seriously into his intent here. And even if you don't go to intent, was it reckless? I mean, look, we're going to ask a poll question about this and so ask you guys, but I think it was reckless. I mean, you got to get the way out of his way, let alone the swerving of the car and hitting him with the back of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be, when you see the guy on the track, he can claim he didn't see him. But given the history, given the videotape, given the evidence here, I don't believe him if he says he didn't see it.
Yeah, look, it all depends on things that we don't really understand as non-race car drivers, right? How fast was he going at the time? How fast can you realistically react or respond to someone who unexpectedly is in the middle of the track? I mean, the person who's reckless there, unfortunately, is the victim, the person who died, you know? And so I don't know what his intentions are, and at this point, all you can really do is speculate. All you can do is look at his past behavior, but I also feel kind of uncomfortable looking at his past behavior and judging what his intentions are in this particular case.
So I've never believed that, right? So in court cases, they will normally exclude your past behavior unless it is a direct pattern of behavior, right? And so it depends on the judge in the case. But they'll say it's not relevant to this case what he's done in the past, right? I think it is relevant. I think if you got a guy who always takes off his, let's say in football, make up a needless analogy, takes off his helmet and smashes a guy in the head with his helmet. If he does it again and he smashes a guy in the head, well then it's harder to make the case that it was an accident. Oh my God, I didn't see him there and I was just swinging my helmet. Well, you did it 12 other times, so I don't think it's an accident.
So, but here's the question. Is he hot-headed enough to literally, intentionally murder someone in front of all these witnesses?
So again, that's where you're going to get to, you would be hard-pressed to convince me that he intended to murder him. No, of course not. The question is, I think of course not. The question is, how reckless was he?
Yeah.
And did he think, well, I bump cars all the time, let me bump him a little bit, and not realizing that he might get stuck under the tire and die?
Right. I think if anything, his intent was to scare him. Right?
Yes, that's probably the most likely scenario.
Right. But again, that's just speculation. We have no way of knowing.
And look, here we have no choice. You got to trust the authorities to do an exhaustive investigation, we hope, and figure out what really happened there, right? Maybe he'll make an argument that he was swerving to get out of his way and swerved the wrong way. On the other hand, he's almost a legendary driver. He knows which way to swerve. It's not like, oops, I went left instead when I meant to go right because I was in a panic situation. The guy lives and breathes this stuff, right? So he's one of the best drivers in the country. It's a harder case to make. So we're going to ask you guys. Anna, read them a poll if you don't mind.
All right. So there is a poll, and you guys can participate in this poll by going to tytnetwork.com/Tony Stewart poll. And the question is, should Tony Stewart be held responsible for Kevin Ward Jr.'s death? And the options are no, not at all responsible. Yes, completely responsible. He meant to hit him. And yes, somewhat responsible. He was driving recklessly.
So, look, you'll find that on YouTube in the description box. You'll find a link to that poll. You can also just get it at tytnetwork.com. It's on the homepage right now as we do the story today. I got to go see. I mean, you shouldn't have driven that close to him. He's hot-headed. He's done similar things before. No, I mean, that's reckless, man. I would press charges. Based on what we know now, of course, in the real world, authorities have to do the investigation and make the decision for themselves. Yeah,
I would definitely go with C as well. I think that he intended to scare him. I think that both tempers were flaring on both sides, and it was a stunt that went tragically wrong.
Anybody disagree, guys? JR, Jesus, Jason, does everybody go with C here, or anybody think he did it on purpose, or no, it was an accident?
I mean, I'm saying I agree with you guys on C. An important thing to note was there was a yellow caution flag up. Anytime there's some kind of spin off on the track, it's not like go ahead. You still race wholeheartedly. There's a caution flag, especially when he got out of the car. So I agree with Anna. I think it's similar. Granted, someone died, but in baseball, when a pitcher pegs a player because he showed up a home run, I think he was just trying to teach him a lesson to not spin the guy out, and obviously got way too close.
Yeah. Just stop trying to teach each other lessons by getting close to incredibly fast cars. And by the way, it's also true in baseball. Don't hit a guy in the head because you threw a bad pitch and he hit it out of the. You can kill somebody by throwing a 100-mile-per-hour ball at their head. So this is stupid. It pisses me off, and I think at a minimum it's reckless. By the way, of course, we're going to have ongoing coverage of this at TYT Sports on YouTube as well. We're all agreed on this, but we already had the poll up on the website. Mm-hmm. Actually, the audience is so far a lot more split than we are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fascinating.
So we'll tell you guys the result of the poll tomorrow because I am very curious what you guys think about it.